Good morning, this is your Barbados Today morning news update for Friday, November 13. There's no money to build a new hospital, and that means the Queen Elizabeth Hospital will have to do for now. That's the view of two hospital officials as they responded to questions regarding the need for another hospital on the island during the QEH's 6th annual public accountability meeting last night. Director of Medical Services Dr. Clyde Cave said, "No doubt it would be ideal to have a new facility, but it's simply not practical."
If we are dreaming in a world where money does not matter, space does not matter, relocation of traffic patterns, demand doesn't matter, sure, we'll have a new hospital. And then we'll quarrel about what needs to go into the hospital and if we can afford to run it if we had it. It's a difficult balance. This is what we have, and we have to optimize it. When bigger funds become available, yes, but for the time being, this is where we live, this is what we have, and this is what we must make the best of.
The hospital's executive chairman, Juliet Bailo Sutherland, estimates that it could cost millions to construct a new facility. She too is in support of improving the current plant at Martindale's Road.
Until we have the resources, I think a new hospital is something like $600 million. I think that's the kind of nearly $1 billion. Yes, thank you. I'm aging myself. So we recognize that we would have to have a significant investor coming to the table with another, with that type of engagement. Is not beyond us, but then a whole other discussion comes once we have that hospital, what goes in it and so on and so forth. So right now I'm with Dr. Cave, and I think as a board, we're looking to optimize the facility that we have and why we're investing so heavily on plant and equipment and repairs and making sure that the staff who are working here get the kind of conditions of work and the patients have the experience they need.
Days after Barbados removed Antigua and Barbuda from its list of high-risk countries to medium risk for COVID-19, the Antiguan Prime Minister Gaston Brown has sent a letter to Prime Minister PM Mottley outlining his concerns.
On the 3rd of November, Antigua and Barbuda was placed by Barbados health authorities in its high-risk COVID-19 travel category. Individuals traveling from or transiting through countries who fall into the high-risk category are required to present a negative COVID-19 test within 3 days of arrival into the country and are required to quarantine for a 7-day period while awaiting results for second COVID-19 tests administered 4 to 5 days after arrival. Also placed at high risk was the United States, United Kingdom, and India. The placement drew immediate pushback from the country's government officials, including Minister for Foreign Affairs the Honourable E.P. Chet Green. A week later, on Tuesday, November 10, Antigua and Barbuda was downgraded to medium risk, a category which includes Australia, New Zealand, Bermuda, and St. Lucia. Individuals traveling from or transiting through countries in this category will not be required to quarantine. However, they will be monitored for their first 7 days in Barbados, and a retest is required 4 to 5 days after arrival. In spite of this, Antigua and Barbuda's Prime Minister, the Honourable Gaston Brown, is not satisfied with the classification. In a letter addressed to Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, PM Brown describes the current ranking as undeserved. The Prime Minister says, quote, "You will understand, therefore, my government's deep concern about Barbados' classification of Antigua and Barbuda as high risk or medium risk when the facts tell a quite different story. You will further appreciate our disquiet when Barbados departs from the position taken by CARICOM heads of government to apply the CALFA standard of 20 active cases for a population of 100,000. End quote. According to the COVID-19 dashboard released by the Ministry of Health Wednesday evening, the total number of active cases in this country stands at 4. The Prime Minister is hopeful his regional counterparts will see it necessary to ensure that, quote, "the regional standard established by CALFA and agreed by heads of government is applied by the Barbados authorities to Antigua and Barbuda, placing the country in the low-risk category it merits."
The almost 12 children with a hole in their heart who are waiting for a special intervention surgery could soon have the operation done in Barbados at the QEH. On Wednesday, the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust donated over $400,000 in surgical devices to the Pediatrics Department of the Martindale's Road St. Michael facility that will allow for life-saving acute pediatric interventional cardiology. Dr. Bharat Ramchandani, consultant cardiac interventionist at the QEH, told Barbados Today the hospital is still in the process of initiating a pediatric interventional cardiology program.
What we're proposing here is to start a program that has never existed in the Caribbean, a sustainable program in a public institution which none of the Caribbean islands have going for them, I think. So we don't start at 100%. You need a lot of subspecialty support, you need a lot of skill set, which fortunately we have in Barbados. We need a department of anesthesia, we have a brilliant department of anesthesia, we need a cardiothoracic surgical department in case something I do goes wrong. We need a surgeon to then go in and bail out and try and save the child. We need pediatric intensive care, neonatal intensive care. We need appropriate cath lab staff, and we have it all at the QE, believe it or not. We have the appropriate skill set. Now we have more equipment than we've had in the last 2 years. So we have the ingredients. It's just you cannot expect to come into an institution and say, I'm starting a program at 100%. You need time to break it in, baby steps. We start with a couple of patients and gradually increase our workload, and patient safety is paramount. So everything has to be done in a controlled fashion.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To regional news now, the Antigua and Barbuda government pledges to assist residents hard hit by recent heavy rains. More in this report from ABS Television.
In some areas of this country, damage and loss from the recent floods have been extensive. Cabinet spokesman, the Honourable Melford Nicholas, says providing relief, however, is a part of the government's mission. He adds, when Cabinet receives the official damage assessment report from the National Office of Disaster Services at Friday's meeting, the executive arm will be in a better position to identify and communicate relief efforts.
The government is here to do its role in terms of supporting persons to be able to get their lives back together.
Minister Nicholas says the government will also pay careful attention to members of the differently abled society.
I can give an indication to all persons who have had their bed and their furniture being affected, primarily, that may be the first area where the government would seek to make an intervention. There are persons who are living in these low-lying areas that would require further assistance in terms of getting their homes, where these homes are wooden houses, to be able to assist them in getting them elevated.
A timeline for relief efforts, he says, will be made public after Friday's Cabinet convention.
On the international front, President-elect Joe Biden cemented his electoral victory by capturing the battleground state of Arizona late on Thursday. But the transition to his political administration remains in limbo as President Donald Trump refuses to accept defeat.
The Republicans should stop their shenanigans about an election that President Trump has already lost.
As U.S. President-elect Joe Biden on Thursday moved ahead with planning his new administration, Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer blasted President Donald Trump for refusing to concede the election and called out his Republican allies in Congress who are supporting Trump as he pursues legal challenges in several states and makes unsubstantiated claims of voting fraud.
Congressional Republicans don't have the evidence. They don't have the proof. They don't have anything. Neither does the president. Congressional Republicans are deliberately casting doubt on our elections for no other reason but fear of Donald Trump. These Republicans are all auditioning for profiles in cowardice.
But there are signs of weakening support for Trump's efforts. Staunch Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham joined a small but growing number of Republicans who say Biden should have access to the president's daily intelligence briefings. Republican Senator James Lankford said in a radio interview that if Biden did not receive the briefings by Friday, he would step in to assist.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.